The grand chamber of the Galactic Council floated in silent orbit around a pale yellow star that no one claimed as home. Delegates from 487 different species filled the curved seats in perfect order. Their bodies ranged from clouds of glowing gas to armored shells to soft wet forms that needed constant moisture. All of them watched the single human who stood at the center podium. Ambassador Elena Vasquez wore a plain gray suit with no decorations. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, and her face showed calm lines that came from many years of hard talks. For a long time, humanity had been allowed to sit among the older races. They came late to the stars, yet moved fast, and asked questions no one else dared to ask. They built ships that broke old speed rules and settled worlds the Council marked as protected. They traded goods freely, but never followed every small rule written in ancient books. Patience of the Council had run out. The motion lay open on every glowing screen. Resolution 7749, permanent banishment of the Terran species from all protected zones, trade lanes, shared gates, and knowledge vaults. The reasons filled 3 full pages. Persistent disruption of balance through wild curiosity, endless hunger for new land, and constant refusal to obey agreed limits. Voices rose one after another in support. The tall, crystalline Phrime said humans spread like fire on dry grass. The squid-like Sepharins complained that human jokes insulted sacred traditions. The slow stone beings from Granth rumbled that Earthships ignored border markers, and mind rings claimed long ago. Even some smaller allies who once smiled at human help now nodded in agreement. Fear had grown roots in the chamber. One by one, the votes appeared in bright columns. 471 marked yes. 14 stayed silent with no mark. 2 brave client worlds voted no because their hospitals still ran on human machines and drugs. A number locked, and a soft chime rang through the hall. The Varathian speaker rose on 6 jointed legs and spread his wing membranes wide. By the will of this council, the species known as human is banished effective now. All citizens, vessels, stations, and outposts must leave council space inside 90 standard cycles. Failure will bring unified force. Silence followed the words. Every eye turned back to the human at the podium. Elena Vasquez did not shout or wave her arms. She did not call for delay, or appeal, or review. She simply bent her head a small polite motion. A faint smile curved her mouth, the kind someone gives when they already know the ending of a long game. She spoke in clear High Galactique, so the translators carried every word without error. Thank you for the clarity. She turned and walked toward the wide exit doors. Her steps made soft echoes on the polished floor. No one stopped her. No guard moved to block the way. The chamber stayed quiet, except for the fading sound of her shoes, until the doors closed behind her with a gentle hiss. Outside in the wide corridor, human aides waited in a neat line. They carried datapads and small cases, but no weapons. Elena gave them one short nod. They fell in behind her without a word. The group moved fast toward the shuttle bay. Along the path, other delegates stared from open doorways. Some whispered, some recorded with tiny lenses. None dared speak to her directly. At the bay, the sleek black shuttle waited, with its ramp already down. The pilot, a young man from New Mumbai, stood at attention. He wore the same plain uniform as everyone else. Elena climbed the steps first. Her team followed. Inside the cabin, lights came up soft and warm. Seats folded out of the walls with quiet clicks. The ramp rose and sealed. The shuttle pushed away from the station without any dramatic flair. No roaring engines, no last broadcast. Just smooth, quiet motion into open space. Inside, Elena sat near a wide window. She looked back once at the huge silver ring of the council station. Lights still glowed in every window. Meetings continued. Votes on other matters moved forward. Life went on as if nothing important had changed. She leaned back and closed her eyes for a moment. The smile stayed small but real. Across the galaxy, news moved at light speed. Screens on 1,000 worlds showed the same clip. The human ambassador walking away after the ban. No anger, no tears. Just thanks and a smile. Commentators filled the silence with guesses. Some said humans would beg later. Some said secret weapons waited in Sol. Some said the species would simply fade into quiet poverty far from trade. None of them noticed one small detail. Every human ship in council docks had already loaded full cargo. Medical pods, food printers, rare element ingots, data cores packed with designs and maps, cultural records, even small statues and paintings once given as gifts of friendship. Nothing broke any law. Everything belonged to humans under the old rules, yet the quiet removal felt like something bigger. A merchant on Clythe Station watched his human supplier pack the last crates of jump fuel catalyst. The human smiled the same small smile. He shook the merchant's tentacle and said, "Enjoy your peace." Then he left. The merchant stood alone with empty shelves. He felt cold for the first time in many cycles. On a dozen other worlds, the same scene played out. Polite farewells, full holds, empty. Births. No threats. No drama. Just departure. Elena opened her eyes as the shuttle cleared the last sensor net. The pilot spoke without turning. "Jump ready, ma'am." She nodded once. "Take us home." Not Sol, she thought, but the word felt right anyway. The drive hummed. Space folded around the ship. Stars stretched into bright lines, then snapped back. The council station vanished behind them. Ahead lay open black. And somewhere in that black, humanity waited, not with clenched fists, not with hidden plans of revenge, just with open hands, ready to build something new. Elena looked at her team. They looked back. No one spoke. No one needed to. The same small smile touched every face. They had been told to leave, so they left. And in leaving, they took the best parts of the galaxy with them. Not by force, but because those parts had always belonged to whoever dared reach for them. The shuttle flew on, silent and sure, toward whatever came next. The shuttle carrying Ambassador Elena Vasquez jumped into the quiet dark beyond the council border. Inside the cabin, her team sat in calm rows. They checked screens and spoke in low voices about jump coordinates and fuel margins. No one cried or argued or looked back with regret. They had work to do. Across hundreds of systems, the quiet exodus unfolded like clockwork. Human embassies on a score of capital worlds powered down their lights, one room at a time. Staff carried out boxes of personal items and locked the heavy doors behind them. Local guards watched in silence. Some felt relief, others felt strange emptiness. No human raised a voice in protest. No one painted angry words on walls. They simply left the buildings clean and empty. Freighters that once docked in busy rings slipped their moorings without noise. Captains filed final departure logs marked complete and final, with goods bought fair and square under old contracts. Medical crates filled with regen gel and nanosutures. Seed banks wrapped in cold sleep pods. Rare metals stamped with human serial numbers. Art pieces loaned long ago and now quietly reclaimed. Nothing stolen, everything legal. Yet the sheer volume surprised the dockmasters who checked manifests. One Siparan harbor chief stared at the list of a single departing freighter. It carried enough printed food stock to feed a small moon for a year. He asked the human loader why so much. The loader smiled and said, "We like to be prepared." Then he sealed the last hatch and walked away. The harbor chief felt his tentacles tighten. He had laughed at humans before, called them noisy children playing at Empire. Now the laughter stuck in his throat. On mining moons where human crews had dug for decades, the change came fastest. Spinning. Lights went dark in habitation domes. Workers loaded the last ore haulers with careful stacks. They left the heavy machines behind exactly as agreed in old leases. But every data core, every tool blueprint, every safety protocol had already moved to private ships. The moons looked the same from orbit. Yet something vital had vanished. A young Vorathian surveyor landed on one empty site. He walked through silent tunnels once full of human laughter and welding sparks. He found a single note taped to a control panel. It read, "Thank you for the partnership. Enjoy the quiet." The words made his wing membranes flutter in unease. He took a hollow image and sent it up the chain. More reports arrived every hour. Research stations on gas giant moons shut down labs and packed delicate instruments. Colony worlds near the core packed schools and hospitals in record time. Families boarded sleek transports with children carrying favorite toys and pets in carriers. No tears on the news feeds, no dramatic goodbyes, just orderly lines and polite waves to local friends. The council analysts watched the patterns. They expected chaos, riots over lost jobs, protests at spaceports, legal filings to delay the deadline. Instead, they saw efficiency that bordered on eerie. Ships left with perfect manifests, stations powered down to standby with no sabotage. Every human citizen accounted for and moving rimward. A Clythe Trade Guild master called an emergency meeting. His colleagues gathered around a wide table. They pulled up departure logs from a dozen ports. One by one, the numbers told the same story. Human vessels had left fully loaded and on schedule. The guildmaster tapped a tentacle on the table. "They are not running," he said. "They are relocating." A junior analyst spoke up. "Everything that was theirs by contract, including the catalyst formula licenses we thought were shared forever." The room grew still. The catalyst was the key to cheap jump fuel. Without human refineries, many older ships would soon crawl at sublight speeds. The guildmaster looked at the star map. The human borderline glowed in blue. Beyond it lay vast unclaimed sectors. Sectors the council had marked too far, too empty, too dangerous. Now small icons began to appear there. New human signals. Small at first, then more, then many. The analyst zoomed in. A new habitat ring circled a yellow dwarf star, never settled before. Construction drones moved in patterns too fast for council yards. Another icon showed a mining swarm around an asteroid belt. Output readings spiked higher than any known operation. The guildmaster leaned back. "They did not wait for permission," he said. Across council space, the first cracks appeared. A luxury world called Sereth Prime depended on human fruit imports. The sweet red orbs called apples grew nowhere else in such volume. The last shipment arrived on time. Then none came. Markets emptied. Prices rose tenfold. Rich citizens complained to their senators. The senators sent messages to Earth. No answer came back. Another world lost its supply of human anti-aging treatments. Hospitals reported long waiting lists. Panic buying started in quiet ways. People who once mocked human medicine now searched black markets for old stocks. The council tried to stay calm. They issued statements. The banishment proceeds as planned. Humanity will soon feel the weight of isolation. Yet the statements rang hollow, because every day brought new sensor data from the frontier. Human ships moved faster than before, appeared on scopes. Shapes of stations grew in hours instead of years. A neutral trader risked a close pass near one new human colony. He sent back images of children playing on wide green parks under open domes. Adults worked on fusion towers that glowed soft blue. No weapons platforms, no battle fleets, just people building, living, smiling. The trader returned to council space and filed his report. He added one line at the end: "They look happy." The report climbed through layers of bureaucracy. Eventually it reached the highest tables. An old Thrime counselor read the words. His crystal body chimed softly in thought. He remembered the day of the vote, remembered the smug nods around the chamber, remembered thinking this would teach the upstarts their place. Now he stared at the frontier map. New blue icons spread like sparks across black. Each one a human hand, reaching, taking empty space, filling it with life. He felt something cold move through his lattice. Not fear exactly, something closer to realization. Humanity had not fought the ban. They had accepted it. And in accepting it, they had turned their backs on the old galaxy. They walked away, and kept walking, faster and farther than anyone thought possible. The quiet exodus continued, ship after ship, world after world, until the last human station beyond the line powered down. Its lights faded one by one. Then it too jumped away, leaving only a small buoy behind. The buoy broadcast a simple message in every language. Humanity has left the premises. Enjoy your peace. The words floated in empty space, a polite farewell and a quiet promise that the ones who left would never look back unless someone forced them to, and no one dared try. The 90 cycles passed in quiet tension across council space. Scout drones slipped past the old border markers into the volume humanity once shared. They found empty lanes and silent stations. No defensive arrays waited with hungry sensors. No mine nets stretched across jump points. No patrol ships ghosted in the dark. Just black nothing and a thin line of small relay buoys. Each buoy broadcast the same calm message in looping waves. Humanity has left the premises. Enjoy your peace. The words hung there, polite and final. Council analysts replayed the recordings many times. They searched for hidden codes or threats buried in the signal. They found none. Just clear speech and a soft, friendly tone. The smug voices from the vote day grew quieter. Some delegates even suggested sending a formal thank you note. Others laughed at the idea, then stopped laughing when no one joined in. RIM started small. A long-range probe caught a strange heat bloom around a dim red star. The bloom grew fast, then stabilized into the clear shape of a habitat cylinder. Next cycle, another bloom appeared around a different star. Then 3 more, then 10. Council cartographers pulled up old charts of the region. Blank sectors marked only with hazard icons for radiation, dust clouds, and unstable jumps. Now blue human markers dotted the map like sudden raindrops. Each marker linked to fresh sensor data. New fusion plumes, tight beam comms and unknown encryption. Construction swarms moving at speeds no council yard could match. A neutral merchant ship, the Dawn Trader, risked a closer look. The captain, a cautious Lyran, with excellent scopes, flew his vessel along the edge of one new system. He saw a world with 2 small moons being wrapped in silver scaffolding. Orbital rings already half complete linked the moons to the planet in graceful arcs. Shuttles darted between them like bright fish. On the main world, green patches spread across wide continents. Lakes reflected sunlight in perfect blue. Cities rose in patterns that looked grown rather than built. The captain watched children chase each other across open fields under transparent shields. Adults worked on machines that hummed soft songs. No guards stood at gates. No weapons showed on scans. The captain sent his feed back to neutral space. He added one short note. They build as if they have all the time in the galaxy. The note spread through trader nets. Soon every species with eyes on the frontier saw the same truth. Humanity had not retreated to lick wounds in Sol. They had surged outward faster and bolder than before. Ship designs changed in plain view. Long, sleek hulls with drive rings that glowed strange new colors. Some ships folded space in ways old theory said impossible. Wormhole mouths opened and closed with casual ease. Gates linked distant systems in private chains that ignored every council lane. A Clyte science team tried to model the new drives. Their best computers overheated and crashed. The equations refused to balance. One senior physicist stared at the failed sims. He whispered, "They changed the rules again." And this time, they did not ask permission. Panic moved slow at first, like cold water rising in a deep pool. A coalition of worried worlds sent observer drones deeper into the new sectors. The drones returned images of Dyson swarms around young hot stars. Thin rings caught every photon and turned it to power. Factories on the rings spat out fresh habitats at a pace that mocked old construction times. One swarm finished in under 10 cycles. Council records showed the same design once took centuries. Assessment reached high tables. It read simple and blunt. Human expansion rate now exceeds all projected models by factor of 15. Projected growth curve approaches exponential. If unchecked, the Terran sphere will surpass current council volume in less than 2 millennia. The word unchecked stuck in many minds. No one spoke of force. Not yet. Because the humans showed no threat. They built, they explored, they lived, and they smiled in every captured image. Children waved at distant probes as if greeting old friends. Workers paused to share meals under open sky. Families danced in new parks lit by strange suns. The joy looked real, unforced, free. Back in the grand chamber, the delegates gathered again. This time, the air felt thick. The Vorathian speaker rose on trembling legs. He read from prepared notes. Boundary. We remind all parties that banishment remains in effect. No violation has occurred, yet voices rose anyway. A Thrime delegate chimed that humans mocked the council with their speed. A Sephirin waved tentacles and said they hoard knowledge we once shared. A Granth rumbled low that empty stations now gather dust, while humans claim new stars. The speaker called for calm. No one listened, because deep down, every delegate knew the same hard fact. The ban had not hurt humanity. It had freed them. No more endless debates in committee. No more vetoes from ancient species afraid of change. No more slow protocols that strangled new ideas. Humanity had taken the vote at face value. They left. And in leaving they found room to run, to grow, to laugh. A single image spread through council nets like fire. It showed Ambassador Elena Vasquez standing on a high balcony. Behind her stretched an ocean the color of summer sky. Twin suns hung low and warm. Children ran through gardens full of earth flowers mixed with alien blooms. Orbital mirrors caught extra light and painted rainbows across the scene. She looked straight into the camera, older now, hair touched with silver, eyes bright and calm. She spoke in the same clear voice as before. We accepted your vote. We are banished. We stayed banished. You are welcome to your galaxy. We have a new one. The feed cut there. No threats, no insults, just truth delivered with that same small smile. The chamber watched in silence. Some delegates felt anger. Some felt shame. Most felt something colder. The realization that they had pushed away the one species willing to keep pushing forward, and now that species pushed on without them. Faster, farther, happier. Ended. What came next looked a lot like joy, and it belonged only to those who had dared walk away. The panic arrived slowly, then rushed in like a broken dam. First came the small shortages that people tried to ignore. On Sereth Prime, the apple stalls stood empty for weeks. Chefs invented new desserts from local fruits, but customers complained about the missing sweet bite. Rich families sent private ships to neutral markets hoping to find hidden stocks. They returned with high prices and low quantities. Then the medical worlds felt the pinch. Anti-aging treatments stopped arriving. Clinics that once promised 2 extra centuries now turned away long waiting lines. Old citizens who had mocked human medicine suddenly searched attics for forgotten vials. Black market prices soared until even the wealthy could not afford steady doses. Trade guilds met in secret rooms. They pulled up old contracts and stared at the clauses humanity had written long ago. Every line allowed the supplier to end delivery with 90 cycles. Notice: no penalties, no force clauses. Humans had followed the rules perfectly. A desperate coalition formed fast. 5 major species pooled ships and credits. They sent a diplomatic fleet to the new border. 10 sleek vessels approached the line of relay boys. The lead ship hailed on every open channel. "We seek peaceful talks on behalf of the Galactic Council. We wish to discuss renewed relations and trade restoration." Silence answered for 3 full cycles. Then a single tight beam came back. It carried only coordinates and a simple invitation. "Come to these stars. We will meet you there." The fleet translated to the given point. They emerged in a quiet system with 1 blue-green world and twin suns. No battle fleet waited. No gun batteries tracked them. Just a single elegant station in high orbit, shaped like a wide-open flower. Petals of solar glass caught the light and threw rainbows across the void. A small shuttle detached from the station and approached without hurry. It docked with perfect gentleness. The airlock cycled. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stepped through first. She looked older, but stronger. Silver threaded her hair like fine wire. Her gray suit remained plain. Behind her walked a small group of humans, some young, some middle-aged, all calm. The coalition delegates waited in the meeting hall. A long table stood in the center with chairs for every species. Food and drink waited untouched. Elena took the head seat. She smiled the same small smile from the vote day. The lead delegate, a tall Thrime, spoke first. His crystal voice rang clear. "We come to repair what was broken. Trade must resume. Knowledge must flow again. Humanity belongs among us." Elena listened without interruption. When he finished, she nodded once. "We accepted your vote," she said. "We left as asked. We stayed gone. Your galaxy remains yours. We built our own." The Thrime leaned forward, "But the shortages grow. Your catalysts fuel half our fleets. Your medicines heal our sick. Your food feeds our poor. Without you, many worlds suffer." Elena looked at each face in turn. "We sold those things under old agreements. Those agreements ended when you ended our place. We no longer sell to outsiders." A Sephirin waved frantic tentacles. "You hoard what can save billions. You turn your back on the weak." Elena shook her head slow. "We help where we choose now. We send aid to new friends in new sectors. We trade with those who never voted to cast us out. We owe nothing to the ones who wanted us gone." The room grew very quiet. A Granth rumbled deep in his chest. "You could have fought. You could have stayed and argued. Away instead." Elena met his stone gaze. "Fighting would have kept us tied to your rules. Arguing would have wasted time. Walking freed us. We chose freedom." The coalition tried one last offer. "Name your terms," they said. "Any price, any border adjustment. Just return to the fold." Elena stood. She walked to the wide window that overlooked the blue world below. Gardens stretched across islands. Children swam in worn seas. Ships lifted from fresh ports, carrying explorers to farther stars. She turned back to the delegates. "Our terms are simple," she said. "Enjoy your peace. We will enjoy ours." The meeting ended there. No handshakes, no final pleas. The coalition fleet left the system in silence. On the journey home, the delegates spoke little. Each one carried the same heavy thought. Humanity had not begged. They had not threatened. They had simply said, "No," and kept building. Back in council space, the cracks widened fast. Jump-capable ships sat idle in docks as catalyst reserves dwindled. Older fleets crawled between systems at sublight speeds. Travel times stretched from days to months. Trade slowed to a trickle. Prices climbed higher. Famines touched worlds that once feasted on imported grain. Revolts sparked on luxury planets where citizens blamed their leaders for the vote. The Grand Chamber filled again, but fewer seats held bodies. Some species had collapsed into civil strife. Others quietly sent private envoys to the new border. They asked for associate status. They offered resources for medicine and fuel. Some offers gained quiet acceptance. Others received polite refusals. The council tried to draft new resolutions. They spoke of sanctions and blockades. But no one volunteered ships. No one wanted to face the humans who now moved faster and built stronger. A young analyst on a neutral station watched the frontier feeds every day. New human worlds appeared like stars waking up. Cities grew under domes that shimmered like soap bubbles. Fleets of explorer ships darted out in every direction. Each one carried families and dreams instead of soldiers. The analyst saved one image to his personal file. It showed a human child standing on a high cliff. Wind lifted her hair. She looked out at a double sunrise. Her face held pure wonder. No fear, no anger, just joy at the sight of something new. The analyst closed the file. He whispered to the empty room. They won without fighting, and we lost without knowing why. The reckoning had come, not with fire or war, but with absence, with empty shelves and silent docks, with the slow realization that the galaxy once shared now belonged mostly to those who had smiled and walked away. And the ones left behind could only watch as the future moved farther out of reach. Centuries rolled past like slow waves on a quiet sea. The Grand Chamber still floated in its eternal orbit, but many seats stood empty now. Dust gathered on the curved benches where proud delegates once sat. Some species had faded into small, forgotten enclaves. Others merged with stronger neighbors to survive the lean years. A few quietly applied for associate status in the growing web humans called the Terran expansion sphere. The old vote tally remained in the central archive, bright numbers frozen on a crystal slab. 471 yes, 14 abstentions, 2 no. Historians from surviving worlds came to study the slab. They argued in soft voices about what drove the decision. Was it fear of the fast-moving humans? Was it arrogance from ancient power? Was it simple habit of control that no one questioned? No answer satisfied everyone, but every scholar agreed on one clear truth. Humanity never fought to stay. They never begged for mercy. They never launched countervotes or secret alliances. They listened to the verdict, then smiled, turned their backs, and walked away. In the years that followed, the old galaxy shrank. Trade lanes grew thin and cracked. Once busy ports echoed with wind through empty docks. Ships that once crossed the stars in days now limped on backup drives. Fuel cost more than cargo in some sectors. Many worlds turned inward. They grew their own food, built their own tools, and told stories of better days. Stories that always ended with the same line. Then the humans left and took the future with them. Out in the expansion sphere, life moved in bright contrast. New stars woke under human light every cycle. Worlds bloomed with cities that touched clouds. Habitats spun in graceful dance around gentle suns. Children who spoke a dozen languages by age 10. Explorers pushed into regions once thought empty forever. They found strange life, quiet ruins, ancient signals from lost civilizations. Each discovery became a new home, a new story, a new reason to keep going. No central throne ruled the sphere. No single voice spoke for all. Decisions rose from councils on 1,000 worlds, from ship crews in deep space, from children who asked, "Why not try?" The old council tried to map the sphere once, their charts filled with question marks and gray voids. Every update added more blue, more names, more lights. The map became a joke among young analysts. They called it the growing stain because no border held it back. Ambassador Elena Vasquez lived long enough to see 3 generations born under new skies. She spent her last years on a world with endless meadows and twin rivers. Garden. They asked for stories of the old days. She told them about the grand chamber, about the vote, about the walk down the long corridor. She always ended with the same words. We did not lose anything that day. We gained everything. When she passed quietly in her sleep, the whole sphere paused for one cycle. Flags lowered on every ship. Lights dimmed on every station. Then life continued brighter than before, because she had shown them how to leave when staying meant chains. Scholars later wrote thick books about the banishment. They used big words like catalyst and paradigm shift. But ordinary people summed it up simpler. The council told us to go. So we went, and kept going, until the stars belonged to us. Not because we conquered, but because we never stopped reaching. On quiet nights, explorers still looked back toward the old core. They saw faint lights from the shrunken council worlds, small and distant now, like embers in a dying fire. No hate lived in those gazes, no wish for revenge, just mild curiosity. The same curiosity that once annoyed the old delegates. What are they doing now? How do they live without us? The answers came in traded stories from the few who still crossed the line. Associates spoke of human aid ships that arrived without fanfare, carrying medicine, seeds, and teachers. They spoke of markets where goods flowed free, but only to those who asked politely. They spoke of children who waved at strangers and offered fresh fruit. The old core listened. Some felt envy, some felt regret. Most felt the slow weight of time, because the ones who walked away had not stood still. They had run, they had danced, they had built wonders that made old glories look small. In the end, banishment did not break humanity, the last small cage. It let them stretch to their full height, and that height reached farther than any eye could follow. So the stars once shared by many, now shone brightest under hands that dared to leave the room. When told they no longer belonged, those hands never looked back with anger. They looked forward with open wonder, and kept building, kept laughing, kept living, until the galaxy itself learned a quiet lesson. Never banish the ones who smile when you tell them to go, because they will go, and they will take tomorrow with them, leaving you to wonder what might have been if you had asked them to stay.